ça devrait être tout bon. Voilà, on est prêt à reprendre un peu la quête de Fontaine. Je suis une très mauvaise joueuse dans le sens que je n'ai pas retouché au jeu, sachant que vu que j'étais en retour de convention la semaine dernière, ça veut dire que ça fait bien 2 semaines. J'avoue qu'autant l'histoire principale de Genshin m'intéresse toujours autant je décroche un petit peu du jeu lui-même. Et coucou Rara! Mais comme je dis, je suis toujours très intéressée par l'histoire, donc on va juste enlever tous les points d'exclamation. Ouh! Ça je prends. Parce que du coup, oui, on avait fini l'acte 1, et on était sur le point d'entamer l'acte 2 de la quête de Fontaine. Alors, du coup, je suis sur la bonne quête. Oh là, il a pas aimé. Et c'est par là-bas. Mais du coup, le temps qu'on s'y rende, comment tu vas? Tu vas passer une bonne journée? Tu peux monter là-dessus? Non, je peux absolument pas monter là-dessus. Monter de là-dessus. Ah, va tranquille? Bon. Est-ce que là ça monte? Là aussi ça bloque. Non, là ça monte. Eh bien écoute-moi ça. Voilà. Il y a des lacs le plus. Ah oui non mais c'est carrément à l'autre bout de. Oh, on va se TP hein. On va en profiter pour récupérer le TP qui est là. Moi j'ai passé une bonne journée, j'ai commencé à découper mon tissu pour mon short de ma tenue de nuit. J'ai vraiment des gros lacs, je sais pas pourquoi. Je suis juste un peu dégoûtée parce que à quelques centimètres près ça passait, mais là si je veux rentrer les dernières parties du patron, il va falloir que j'aille racheter du tissu. Donc voilà, un peu le seum, surtout que j'étais contente d'avoir réussi à ne pas à rester en dessous du budget que je m'étais fixé et je sais pas combien ça va me coûter de racheter la tissu. Mais du coup j'irai demain.
I came here several times with my father when I was little, but stopped eating here as often after growing up. I hope the food here will be to your taste.
Oh, don't worry. We haven't eaten at a hotel like this in a while. Paimon's getting excited already.
In that case, I'll go order for us first. Please wait here a moment.
Ooh, everything looks so good. People in Fontaine sure know how to enjoy life.
Why, of course. Go ahead, try whatever you like. If the food's good, I'll make a group reservation for the rest of Spina di Rosula next time.
And if it's not?
Well, then I'll still bring everyone. Albeit with only one dish per table.
You, sure have your own way of doing things. Oh, we called this a farewell meal, but we could also treat it like a victory feast, right? We did just win that case after all.
Je viens de manger, la vue de cette table me donne faim. Oh, les lasagnes là qui dégoulinent, j'ai trop envie de taper un croc.
Oh, true. Very true. In that case, boss, we'll have another 2 dishes.
Ouais, faut pas exagérer non plus.
Paimon didn't mean that you had to order even more food. Speaking of cases, do you think that the mastermind behind the serial disappearances will get caught soon now that this has all happened?
Putain, le souci des détails, la table est passée en mode... Bon, on a laissé un plat visiblement, mais du coup la table est passée en mode dessert. Ils ont pris le temps de changer les trucs sur la table.
Well, we've certainly taken a big step forward, but I feel that's about it. We know that there's an organization that means to dissolve these young women, but we still don't know what they are really after.
If it hadn't happened right in front of us, Paimon wouldn't have ever believed that a person could be dissolved like that.
Right? Yet it was because this was such a preposterous notion that the investigation could never really move forward before.
Ugh. If only that guy could have finished speaking! We were so close to hearing who was behind it.
In such investigations, even the smallest step can seem like a yawning chasm if the trail of clues is cut off. To be honest, I don't have high hopes for any follow-up that the authorities might conduct. It's not that I don't have faith in their ability, it's just that a different perspective is required in some matters. It's easy to guard against and deceive a single narrow perspective. A shift in thinking is required at such times in order to produce a breakthrough. Which is exactly why the Spina di Rosula exist. Those highfalutin folk are not all-knowing. That's why we exist. To seep into the cracks where filth falls through, where their watch fails them. That's the kind of problems we solve.
Seems Paimon thought things were simpler than they actually are.
It's all right. Well, this was supposed to be a farewell meal, so I doubt you have further interest in this business, right? Let's talk about something else. Like, what are your future plans?
That's true. We didn't have a chance to speak to her after the trial ended. It didn't really seem like the right time or place to do it anyway.
Et puis même si on l'a vaincue à l'amiable, vu la personnalité de Furina, je suis pas sûre qu'elle ait envie de nous parler tout de suite.
I see. So, your primary objective, which has been foiled so far, was to have a chat with the Hydro Archon. I've heard that there's a long line of people waiting to meet Lady Furina. I suspect you'll be waiting for quite a while, considering that you missed your chance today.
Yeah, we've heard that she's super popular here in Fontaine, and that it'll be tough getting any of her time.
Well, would you consider some more, unique ways? Perhaps even methods of, let's say, questionable legality?
Parle toujours.
Guess that's Spina di Rosula's boss for you. Chock full of sketchy ideas. Well, what did you have in mind?
Well, one way would be to infiltrate a performance troupe at the Opera House, only to abandon your act at the play's climax and ask to speak to her after the performance.
C'est un bon moyen de se faire arrêter, ça.
I'm sure Lady Furina would be eager to see the ending, and would agree in order to finish watching the play, don't you think?
Ou elle enverrait les gardes à mon cul pour voir la fin de la pièce quand même.
Could you suggest something a little more practical? This plan seems pretty hard to pull off. We'd have to go learn how to act, and acting's really hard.
All right, here's another. Find a way to conceal yourselves under her bed. Then, wake her up in the dead of night and demand answers. Don't let her go back to sleep until she answers all your questions.
Encore une fois, un très bon moyen de se faire appeler les gardes sur soi. Oh, j'ai pas vu le robot pâtissier derrière, c'est trop bien. Faudra que j'aille voir ça de plus précis, nous lâche après.
I can personally testify that this one works. When I'm sleepy, I'll do anything as long as I can finally get some sleep.
That might work, but that's not really the problem. The problem is, we don't want to get ourselves arrested.
Ah, valid point. I overlooked that part. I was just thinking about leveraging a person's desire for sleep. All right, no more joking around. Perhaps you could... Oh, I don't know. Cut the line when she's on a break. You did defeat her in court. clearing citizens of hers from false accusations. False accusations she had nearly upheld personally. I imagine that she feels quite ashamed about the whole thing.
You mean that if we catch her while she's on a break, she might be too embarrassed to refuse? Oh, that does make some sense. Why don't we give it a try after this meal? You know, strike while the iron is hot and all.
Huh? Paimon, did you drink my Fanta?
Was this your drink? Sorry about that. Paimon wasn't really paying attention and the cup was right next to Paimon. Would you like to order another?
No, it's fine. We're just about done here.
Alright. Honestly, Paimon wouldn't recommend Fanta anyway. It tastes kind of salty and icky.
Is that so? Huh. Well, in that case, we'll have to blacklist the Fanta here then. If we're all finished eating, then I'll go pay.
Salé comme de l'eau de mer, par exemple?
Yeah, we're stuffed. Thanks for the treat, Navia.
Attends, est-ce qu'il me laisse dans le resto? C'est un peu long comme temps de chargement pour juste me laisser dans le resto.
Oh,
Bon,
so
on verra le robot une autre fois.
Paimon can barely float anymore. Nah, that would be so normal. You know, like you.
Okay. As for expenses this month, we're left with...
Hey, Navia, what are you doing over there?
Oh, nothing. It was just a meal, you know? Nothing the Spina di Rosula can't cover.
Let's get ready to try to meet the Hydro Archon again. Bye, Navia!
So this is goodbye, huh? Well, if you do encounter any other trouble in Fontaine, you're always welcome to contact the Spina di Rosula. I'll give your request the highest priority. In any case, I wish you smooth sailing. I'll see you again, partner.
See ya!
Alors que la bruine tombe sans raison. Ici par où? C'est par là, 900 mètres, c'est que c'est encore de l'autre côté. Yep. On retourne à la fontaine.
There aren't many people around anymore. Looks like that boat we took to Araneas might have been the last one.
Vache.
Vache.
Looks like we're back here again. Huh? Traveler? Are you hearing voices again? Ugh. That's kinda spooky. Are you sure we don't want to come back in the morning?
Vache. Vache.
Hey, why are you still walking towards it? There might be something nasty in the water. Huh? Hang on. Paimon can kinda hear a voice. It's calling
Oh,
for
elle l'entend aussi.
Vache, right? Hey, traveler? Stop walking! Come on, wake up!
Vache. Are you my dear Vache? No, wait. You seem to be someone else. Do you know Vache? Do you know where my love is? Wait. Who am I? I'm very sorry. I fear I do not know. My memories feel like they have been washed away like a flood. So many fragments dissolved amidst the tide, never to be recovered. How much have I lost? How many things that I once held dear while on land have I since forgotten? Yes, that is what I was once. But now, I am but the consciousness of one who is lost, therefore. I do not know how I came to be like this either. I only vaguely remember being covered in light blue water, and then all grew dim. I also remember going to many places. I loved adventure, loved exploring places of peril.
Ah, c'est marrant, maintenant qu'on la voit de profil, je pensais que la tête de l'océanite était un rond complet, genre avec la couronne, mais il y a une espèce de trou en fait là.
No matter where I went, Vache would go with me. I knew how dearly he loved me, and I also loved him equally as much. But now, we can no longer go back. The pain of such parting. I never knew how heavy it could be. No, our reunion no longer has any meaning. There is no way for us to create any new memories. The thought of me gives him no succor, so let it lie forgotten beneath the waters. If you meet Vache, tell him not to look for me. Tell him to move on. That is the only thing I still remember.
À ce moment-là, elle essaye encore de lui donner une rédemption. On va pas lui offrir la prochaine fois.
Perhaps that is so. As I was submerged in the waters, losing consciousness, I saw Vache above the surface. His eyes were filled with such sorrow, such longing. If only I could have comforted him, told him that I did not suffer. Indeed, I had felt a great warmth. Is that what you call it? Dissolving? If anything, I consider it a form of release. It was a state of neither fear nor frenzy, with only an endless peace, like the water's still surface. I could also liken it to being a thirsty person who drinks water for the first time, and only then sees how they have lived for so long in a world of endless want and anxiety. I think I hear your companion. It's time for you to go, I think. Farewell, then. I am glad that you were able to sense my presence. Remember, if you see Vache, tell him not to seek me out any longer.
Et on se réveille, c'est direct la famille.
Demoiselle, look out!
Dear God, it's a whole army of Gardamex. Chlorand? Quick, now's our chance!
J'avais oublié cette musique, elle est trop classe.
I should thank you for lending us your sword there, Clorand. But before I do so, could you explain how you managed to show up here?
I followed you. It seemed to me that danger has followed you more closely as of late.
I believe that following someone without their knowledge is actually called stalking, is it not?
Mr. Callus's last wish was for me to ensure your safety, and I will not betray his trust. He would do the same, were he alive today.
Do not speak of my father!
Sorry, demoiselle. I was not strong enough.
Thank you for your aid, Miss Clorand, but do keep an eye out for your manner of speech. I believe we all wish to avoid unnecessary emotional harm.
Sorry, I did not consider your feelings.
Whatever. What else do you know? How did you come to the conclusion that I'd be in grave danger?
I doubt I know much more than you, but I believe that the mastermind behind the serial disappearances is very powerful. Your performance tonight will almost certainly attract their attention.
I'm sure they've known about me. To be honest, I'm shocked it's taken them this long to act against me. And what about these Gardamex? I thought only those associated with the Maison Gardiennage could control them.
None of these mecha have serial numbers. I was sure to check a moment ago. They are not the ones used by the authorities to enforce the law.
Elle vient de dire, je me suis assurée de le checker il y a une seconde, il y a un instant. Genre pendant qu'elle faisait des German suplex avec ses cuisses au truc, elle a vérifié s'ils avaient des numéros de série.
I can only conclude that some powerful or wealthy party must have obtained them via illegal means, deploying them as a private force of sorts.
What? Your point being that they're out of Spina di Rosula's league, then?
Yes. Be careful, and do not act rashly.
I will continue investigating no matter what. We will bring the truth to light. That's my father's true last wish. Regardless, thank you for your help today, Clorand. But if you get any ideas, tell me first. I don't much appreciate being followed.
I do not think that they'll strike again anytime soon. So I shall stop following you. Good day, all.
Right. I suppose that's the best news we've gotten today.
Demoiselle, I believe that Miss Clorand was being sincere with you. If we tried, we could attempt to thaw relations a little.
I know, she's...
Oh, thank goodness! Paimon thought we were done for! Those Gardamex came out of nowhere while you were unconscious, and Nadia and her gang saved us! Oh, and there was that champion duelist named Clorand who came out to save us too! We got lucky there. Paimon probably couldn't have fought them off otherwise.
Oh, come now. Forget all that polite talk. That wasn't really a farewell meal we had back there. Not for me, anyway.
Ouais, parce que...
In truth, I hope that every meal we have together shall be a victory feast.
Parce que comme on a dit, pour venir ici, on a pris le dernier Astrobus, je sais plus, non, Aquabus, voilà, Aquabus. Et je pense que si t'étais dedans, on t'aurait vu. Donc tu reproches à Clorand le stalking, mais moi j'aimerais savoir comment ça se fait que toi aussi t'es arrivé pile au bon moment pour nous sauver.
As such, we're still partners. There's no need to thank me.
Bien, on se doutait bien que le dîner c'était une manière d'essayer de nous convaincre de continuer à bosser sur l'affaire. Mais bon, t'as vraiment très envie qu'on continue de bosser avec toi.
It will take 50 years for me to match Demoiselle's magnanimity.
If it were me, I would have joined the Spina di Rosula on account of her goodwill long ago.
Essayez d'être subtil au moins quand vous essayez de recruter des gens.
All right, you two. That's enough.
Actually, Navia, how did you know that we were in danger? You sure did show up in the nick of time.
Well, to be honest, you're the one who tipped us off, Paimon.
Huh? Really? Paimon contributed somehow? Who?
Yes, all thanks to you grabbing my drink by mistake.
How did that help?
After we parted ways, I was on the way back to one of our bases when I suddenly thought of what you said. That the Fanta tasted kind of salty and icky. Fanta only comes in sweet flavors, so how could it have tasted salty? The color of the drink, if I recall, had also been a bit off.
So the Fanta had been spiked with water from the primordial sea?
Yes. So, if you hadn't drunk that cup for me...
Alors, je sais que salé comme l'eau de mer, j'ai moi-même fait la réflexion. Mais, c'était censé être sucré. Pourquoi c'était salé? C'était de l'eau de la mer primordiale. Peut-être on va vérifier s'il existe d'autres formes de poison ou de drogue qui auraient pu être... qu'on aurait pu vouloir donner à la vieille et qui ont aussi un goût salé. C'est une bonne conclusion, mais peut-être pas la seule qui existe à l'heure actuelle.
Spina di Rosula is preparing the grandest of awards for you as we speak for saving the boss.
C'est gentil, mais remettez-le nous le jour où on le fera exprès.
Huh. Really?
I sent people to Hotel Début to investigate, but whoever did this left no trace at all. That's when I figured out that you might be in danger, and hurried here as quickly as I could.
But why would they go after us too? All we did was defend Linny in court and help clear his name. Ugh, now we're caught up in this mess too, aren't we?
Well, you did foil a plan that they were probably pretty proud of, and almost got their name in the process.
C'est vrai.
Speaking of which, did anything strange happen when you drank the primordial seawater?
Bah, il y a eu l'histoire avec l'océanine, mais sachant qu'on entendait déjà la voix avant, je sais pas si c'est juste que passer plusieurs fois devant la fontaine a compté, ou si c'est vraiment que le fait de boire la mer primordiale a changé quelque chose.
Well, it can't be coincidence that the traveler fainted just now. She said that she heard that voice calling for Vache
Ah
again.
non, par contre, ce qui est un indice, c'est le fait que Paimon l'entendait pas avant parce qu'il y avait une histoire de sensibilité à l'élément hydro et qu'elle s'est mise à l'entendre. Ça, c'est un bon indice sur le fait que, autant moi, ça peut être que j'ai augmenté ma sensibilité avec le temps, autant elle, le fait que ça débarque de nulle part après qu'elle en ait bu, ça peut l'expliquer.
Oh, and this time Paimon heard it too. But it was real faint. Does this situation have to do with the primordial seawater then? Does that mean the primordial seawater raises someone's sensitivity to hydro when it's used on people who are not from Fontaine?
That doesn't sound like too much of a bad thing, to be honest.
New intel? While you were out cold?
Well, let's hear it, shall we? Oh, that is important. Vache. That name doesn't ring a bell. I suppose he hasn't stepped forward as a witness in court lately. Since he saw that young woman dissolve, he was at least at the crime scene. But he never gave testimony or any information regarding people dissolving in the primordial seawater. Could he have been threatened? Yes, thank you. This is very important information indeed. We will continue to investigate.
On va pas se mentir, Jeanne veut toujours aider. Jeannette aime aider, part du principe que de toute façon c'est comme ça qu'on fait avancer l'histoire. Mais celle-là, elle est au moins rigolote. Oh, allez.
Oh, you mean you'll help us investigate?
attends, quand tu dis nous, c'est genre ah parce que tu vas nous aider, trop bien. Non, ce que je voulais dire c'est.
Well, you did say that our farewell meal didn't really count. That means we're still partners, right? And besides, we're in this now whether we like it or not. You're not gonna let those people who targeted us get off the hook so easily, are you, Traveler?
Demoiselle, do try not to look quite so pleased. You are the face of Spina di Rosula, after all.
Regardez comme elle est contente.
You talk too much. Well, in that case, let's head back to one of our bases, shall we? I'll arrange accommodations for you. We also have some plans to go over, and hopefully we can deepen our bonds as partners. But...
Don't worry, you two. With us around, our base is definitely secure.
Comment il s'appelait le succès? L'Enec en Folvovis. J'ai aucune idée de ce que ça veut dire. Je sais même pas c'est dans quelle langue, faudra que je regarde ça.
It's easy to fix a machine when you know how it's built and how it works.
Yep. Oh, c'est bon, elle passe de...
Step on up! It's right up ahead, but let's make sure we weren't followed first.
I've been keeping watch, Demoiselle. I haven't spotted anyone suspicious thus far.
Huh, very good. But let's not let our guard down for now.
I shall find rooms for our respected guests.
Thank you, Malus. Now, let's continue, Traveler.
Bonjour.
Surprise!
La compétence de Linette, elle aime pas les escaliers. Hein.
Over here!
Oh, bizarre. Oh, un chat! Coucou les chats. Oh, un point de... Comment ça s'appelle? Un panorama, voilà. Je vais prendre ça. Je vais prendre ça. Je me souvenais plus que la Spina était juste en dessous de Fontaine. Je sais pas pourquoi j'avais retenu que c'était dans un coin un peu à part. Genre, genre pas pile en dessous, quoi. Genre un peu sur le côté.
So, this is your base? It's not quite what Paimon imagined.
Your accommodations have been arranged. Under the present circumstances, I can confidently say it's the best we have.
Well, our funds have been a little tight lately. After all, we don't allow illegal or unethical profiteering. In fact, our funds often come from citizenry who support us.
Seems like it's tough times for everyone. But if you have the support of the people, that does sound like it's worth it.
To be honest, our financial situation was a lot better back when my father was in charge a few years ago. I'm afraid I'm not quite his equal.
Your father... He was the previous boss of Spina di Rosula, right? How did he...
Demoiselle, if you'll allow me to explain.
No. I'll explain it myself. I suppose I couldn't run from this topic forever. And as partners, this is something I hope they can understand. My father's name is Callus. Yes, the same one they call Callus the Unfaithful in the streets.
Je n'avais pas entendu ce nom dans la rue, mais merci pour la précision.
3 years ago, he was accused of murdering his own friend. But he chose a duel to defend his honor, instead of standing trial. He died.
Oh no.
J'ai encore coupé des Il est mort dans l'arène, ok.
But I do not believe my father was a murderer. I'm sure he was set up. At the time, I believed that if he only stood trial and was duly investigated, something amiss would crop up and prove his innocence. But strangely, he not only requested the duel himself, but rumor has it that even after being seriously injured, to the point where he could be deemed as having lost the duel, he refused to surrender, determined to die in the arena.
Les duels sont pas à mort. Je crois qu'on s'était posé la question la dernière fois et donc ils sont pas à mort. Faut juste être considéré comme ayant perdu.
3 years later, I still don't understand why he did that. How could he protect his honor if he's dead? If anything, he gave up his chance to defend himself. The closest piece of info I have is that my father had been investigating the serial disappearances case at the time of his death.
Ah, so that's why you're so determined to get to the bottom of that case.
That's right. I've also tried to investigate the murder my father was implicated in, but I haven't found a single new clue in my countless reviews of the investigation records. However, I believe that if the murder case is related to those behind the disappearances, they must know something. I must know what really happened. Was my father coerced? Framed? Even if he really did kill his friend, I must get to the truth. If only he'd been more open with me when he was still alive. He even hid the fact that my mother died due to complications when giving birth to me. And now, here I am investigating his death. You really are a handful, aren't you, Papa?
Demoiselle, please, if there is anything I can do, anything at all.
Oh, t'es adorable.
I also will never believe that Master Callus murdered anyone. There are none whom I respect more than the two of you, Demoiselle. Master Callus did so much good in life, yet all it took was one murder case for him to be dubbed Callus the Unfaithful. Even our supporters decreased greatly due to that incident, hence our strained finances at present.
Wait, if Callus was such a good man, wouldn't people at least be a little suspicious when he was accused?
No. Perhaps people just revel in that kind of drama. It's not something exclusive to people from Fontaine, really. Everyone's like that. People love watching the evil turn over a new leaf, but they also enjoy watching good people fall into an abyss from one slip-up just as much.
But how could... never mind. If Callus was really falsely accused, we have to find the truth. He didn't deserve to have that happen to him.
There is one other thing. Master Callus's opponent in the duel was Ms. Clorand.
Oh, her? Well, then, isn't that as good as saying that she was the one who killed him? Yeah, that's not the sort of thing that you can just let go and move on from.
Ms. Clorand has always placed great emphasis on the honorable nature of the duel. If her opponent doesn't yield, she will not stop either. She knew Master Callus beforehand and greatly respected him, but seeing how he was resolute in the arena, there was only ever one choice she could have made.
It's not that I don't understand her at all, but I just can't deal with this yet.
Don't worry, Navia. Paimon knows how you feel. You don't have to force yourself to do that.
Afterward, Ms. Cloran told us that at the start of the duel, Master Callus requested that she ensure Demoiselle Navia's safety. Yes, that is our understanding as well.
Oh, Papa. What madness drove you to ask the person who killed you to take care of me? All right, anyway, that's the information I wanted to share with you. Even if it did sound like I was just complaining towards the end. Thanks. You two should go and rest. This was quite a day after all.
Yeah. Paimon's feet.
Please, relax and get some sleep. We will ensure you rest soundly.
Paimon slept so well. This place feels almost too safe.
Almost.
Huh? Navia? Where did the other two go?
I sent them back to Poisson. It's Spina de Rosula's place of origin, and where we have our headquarters. There's not much for them to do here at the moment.
Ah, mais ça doit être Poisson qui est un peu à part, et c'est pour ça que j'avais retenu que...
Paimon gets the feeling that you're just trying to get them off your back. But never mind that. When did you get back? Were you waiting here the whole time?
No, I just returned after going out for a while. I did some investigating yesterday regarding the name Vache.
Wait, so you didn't sleep at all?
How could I after having such critical new evidence appear?
Guess Paimon wasn't speaking for everyone just now, huh?
Unfortunately, this name seems to have been wiped from existence. It doesn't seem to have a match anywhere. I suspect that those behind this have already taken steps to hinder an investigation from this angle. But that does prove that this Vache person is a key witness in the incident.
Does that mean we're too late, though?
No. There is one ray of hope. One place in Fontaine that they would find almost impossible to threaten, no matter how much they wanted to.
Alors déjà ça, et surtout, s'ils avaient tué Vache pour le faire taire, ils s'embêteraient pas à faire disparaître son nom. Donc s'ils s'embêtent à faire disparaître son nom, ça prouve au contraire qu'il faut continuer à creuser parce qu'ils veulent pas qu'on le fasse.
And that is the archives kept by Chief Justice Neuvillette. A place where detailed files on all the cases in recent years are kept. If the Oceanette you met is one of the young women who went missing recently, we should be able to find some related information there.
Je crois qu'elle est pas récente, hein, on va pas se mentir.
So Neuvillette maintains an archive of case files? Whew. Guess that's the hard-working Chief Justice for you. In that case, let's go talk to him, shall we? Aren't you coming along, Navia? Did you get tired?
No, it's nothing. Let's go see the Honorable Chief Justice.
Ouais, on va skipper, ça va aller plus vite.
The palais is right up ahead. Come on.
Oui, ça allait beaucoup plus vite.
Halt! Please state your business here. The Chief Justice is presently occupied with official matters.
Huh. This place does look pretty heavily guarded. Guess that proves that Nervalet's files are really secure.
En même temps, est-ce qu'on s'attendait vraiment à juste pouvoir marcher dans son bureau comme ça sans problème?
Hey, don't you recognize us?
Huh? Who are you? Just to be clear, I don't care who you are or who you might be related to. Our rules make no exceptions.
See? They've got great discipline, too.
Yep, Paimon can tell.
Est-ce qu'elle vient de mettre un coup de pression à la Mélusine juste pour démontrer le fait qu'elles étaient pas corruptibles?
If you're here just to crack jokes, I can point you towards the exit. Unlike some, we're busy, so please leave if you don't have a reason to be here.
Oh, elle est trop mignonne.
No. What I meant to say is, shouldn't you remember us from a few days ago? We were at the trial of the great magician Linny.
Oh, yes, I remember. I read about it in the Steambird. You must be Linny's attorneys. It's all coming back to me now.
We're here today to report and archive some information on a follow-up case.
Huh. Is that even a thing?
Of course. Don't worry. We're here on official business. You can trust us.
Ne jamais faire confiance à quelqu'un qui dit « Tu peux me faire confiance, t'inquiète. »
All right then, I'll let you through. The Chief Justice is just inside.
Alors, incorruptible, mais assez naïf quand même.
Ah, thanks so much.
D'ailleurs, elle a pas dit qu'il était dans une réunion super importante, genre même si on a le droit d'entrer, tu veux pas nous demander de nous asseoir et d'attendre 5 minutes qu'il est fini? Oh, elle a juste les petits santés qui dépassent, c'est trop mignon! Bon, allons interrompre la cérémonie. Enfin, pas la cérémonie, la réunion.
Please come in.
Ah non, c'est bon. On a pris le temps de frapper pour moi.
Sorry to barge in, Monsieur Nervalet. We only like to get in because we...
It's all right. Please let me know how I may be of assistance to you.
So you're not mad at us?
We're looking for a man called Vache. He may have been an eyewitness in the serial disappearances case. If we can find him, we may be able to unearth some key information on the case.
Ah, I see. In that case, please wait here a moment while I browse through the files.
Who knew that Nervalet would be so easy to talk to?
Unfortunately, I'm quite certain that no one by the name of Vache has been involved in any case, criminal or civil, in the past several years. There are no records of him either in the files or in my memory.
Traveler, what if it was really just a dream?
Is that so? All right then. Thank you so much, Monsieur Neuvillette. We'll take our leave now.
Ahem. Miss Navia, I can understand how you feel. Your father, Callus, was a truly exceptional man. We deeply regret his passing.
Je comprends que t'essaies d'être sincère, mais t'es peut-être en train de mettre un peu de sel sur la plaie.
And what are you trying to say, Monsieur Neuvillette? Are you trying to console me? Extend your sympathy? Or just express some tendril of regret? No. You are not trying to do any of that. I can hear it in your voice. There's no emotion behind your words. You only said those things because you felt like you should. It's just like last time. After my father took his place in the duelist ring,
I pushed through the guards to talk to you as a last resort. You even told me then that you thought there was something fishy with the case, yet you still allowed the duel to go ahead. In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared to those cold laws you hold so dear. If you truly regret my father's death, then why didn't you call a stop to the duel? Why didn't you give me the power to stop him from throwing his life away? Why did you just let him die, despised and hated by all? Everything was hanging on a thread at that moment. Just the tiniest effort could have changed everything. There are still so many things I never got to tell him. So many questions he still owes me answers to. If you really have no heart, then just look me in the eyes. I, Navia, will show you the true meaning of regret.
I'm sorry, Miss Navia.
You and my father are truly alike. You keep all kinds of things in your heart and never say a word to anyone. It's not so much that you can't feel, but that you would never express anything. Oh well. In any case, everyone already knows full well the apathy of the Chief Justice. My apologies for taking my emotions out on you, Monsieur Chief Justice. Let's go, Traveler and Paimon.
Navia, are you okay?
I'm fine. Rain. It's raining.
You're right. Wasn't it still sunny when we went into the building? And there shouldn't be any active trials today. How strange.
Now that I think of it, on the day my father was convicted of murder, it was also raining.
What is it? Did you think of something?
Yeah, he was outside. It was uncovered and the rain could fall there. Why? Do you think the rain could have affected the crime scene? That thought has occurred to us before. We've even expanded the search area to try to account for that, but didn't find anything of value. Oh? Wait. You don't mean...
So you're saying that the true murderer could have been turned into water and then got washed away with the rain? Yeah, and if that's what had happened, then no one would have believed your dad, even if he explained what he saw to the authorities.
I really think I found a true genius for a partner. You're completely right. How did I not connect the dots earlier?
Il y a un tout petit problème d'écriture, qui est un problème assez récurrent, et que j'avais aussi pointé, je l'avais pas fait en live, mais que je m'étais aussi pointé à moi-même quand j'avais fait l'event d'été de Simulanka, le tout dernier chapitre, où ils parlent d'un livre et ils disent ouais, c'est un livre d'enquête trop nul, à la fin il y a de la magie qui est impliquée. Dans notre monde, ce genre de commentaires passe. Le genre de personne l'aurait cru s'il avait dit que quelqu'un s'était transformé en eau. Ils sont dans un monde où la magie élémentaire, ça fait partie des règles du monde. Ils marchent comme ça, il y a des gens... Même s'il n'avait pas d'explication directe, même s'il n'avait pas vu de vision, c'est pas hallucinant dans un monde comme ça d'imaginer qu'il y ait moyen pour un porteur de vision de se transformer temporairement en eau pour s'échapper. Genre un truc à la Mona. Donc, c'est un petit défaut d'écriture qui arrive souvent dans les mondes de fantasy. C'est que des gens aient des réflexions comme ça qui marchent selon les règles de notre monde en oubliant qu'ils sont dans un monde où... Bah si, on l'aurait cru, parce que c'est un truc possible, même sans connaître la mère primordiale. Mais bon, c'est un petit détail, c'est un petit couac, c'est...
All right, let's go to Poisson. With this new lead in mind, we'll get to the bottom of my father's case for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna make progress for sure this time.
Do you want to go with me now? Or do you want to head over by yourself later? Great. Let's go then.
Oui, on va y aller direct. Pour l'instant, on enchaîne la quête. Ah oui, alors du coup. Oui, donc c'est ça, poisson, c'est un truc un peu à part. Non, c'est donc je me souviens. Ah mais vous aussi, vous n'êtes pas bien malin. Vous savez que le niveau, il monte. Et vous placez un endroit où il y a littéralement des cascades dans l'entrée. Je crois que j'ai glissé.
Whoa! What a huge ship! Why would a ship be anchored at a place like this?
Ah, on l'a vu très rapidement. J'ai adoré la tête de Livnine. Elle était genre trop heureuse de voir le bateau.
There's no need to be so surprised. While it may look like a ship, it's actually Spina di Rosula's headquarters. My father was the one who asked for it to be built like this. Perhaps our taste in exterior design is the only thing we occasionally had in common. A gigantic and glamorous ship embodies discovery, opportunity, ambition, and conquest. It symbolizes Spina di Rosula's bright and limitless future.
And Paimon thought you were bluffing when you said Spina di Rosula had a glorious past. Paimon was confused why a group with such a history would live in the sewers. But now that Paimon has seen this ship for herself, she's been convinced.
Well, Poisson is where Spina di Rosula began, after all. It's our main base, our home.
Non, mais en vrai, même sans compter la montée des eaux. Genre, si t'as des cascades aussi fournies, votre truc, il est déjà plein depuis 40 ans.
Over here! Step on up! Over here! Malouse, we're back!
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle, and our most important partners. You said before that you still had some business at the court. What brings you back to Poisson so quickly?
About that. It's because my partner here reminded me of something really important. You see, what if my father's case had something to do with water from the primordial sea? You still remember, right, Malouse? On that night, it was raining?
Yes, the case was quite similar to that of Mr. Linney's. Both were what you'd call impossible murders.
Could you tell us a bit more about what happened before?
Yeah, of course. Many years ago, something called synth began to gain popularity in Poisson. At a glance, it was a kind of drink that could excite your mood and produce many pleasant hallucinations.
Wait! Didn't that guard guy who turned into water also mention that the primordial water could be used to produce some kind of potion?
Yep.
Yes, he did. Considering what we know now, it's almost certain that synth is created using water from the primordial sea. If you drink synth for an extended amount of time, you'll suffer many side effects, such as losing the ability to focus or control your emotions. And if you were to stop drinking it completely, you'll experience flashes of paranoia and anxiety while lacking energy to do anything. It's an extremely dangerous substance.
Ouais, bref, c'est une très longue manière de dire que c'est de la drogue sans prononcer le mot drogue.
As he oversaw Poisson, my father was compelled to put a stop to synth abuse and called for a complete ban of it.
Boss's uncompromising attitude incurred the synth vendor's wrath, but no matter how much they threatened or bribed him, he refused to yield. Not only that, Boss became determined to find the mastermind behind the synth operation and put an end to the problem once and for all.
Yes, but the enemy was very cunning. So he could never get anything out of the dealers, all of whom only sold the stuff and weren't privy to the rest of the operation. Recognizing that, my father decided to contact the dealers in secret and cultivate personal relationships with them. Finally, he was able to convince someone to become his informant. The man's name was Jacques. He felt greatly ashamed about his work after seeing many families destroyed by synth abuse. That night, my father hosted a banquet at his countryside estate. He planned to meet up and exchange information with Jacques over some food. But then, we heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. We raced to the scene and found my father, still holding a gun, and Jacques, who was already dead on the ground.
Huh? How did that happen? Aren't they on the same side?
Sounds just like Lenny's case, doesn't it? In both cases, the culprit seemed obvious, but neither appeared to have any motive at all. Looking back on it, though, I now believe the most important clue was something we all overlooked at the time. There were pieces of clothing left at the scene.
Precisely. It's all thanks to you that I made the connection now. Back then, we all just thought they were some costumes that Jacques used to disguise himself at the banquet. But, considering it now, it's almost certain that they belong to a third person at the scene. With one extra person, we'll also need to reconsider why the 2 shots were fired. You're right. We still don't know what happened. But my intuition tells me that we're on the right track to figuring it all out. I'm finally headed towards the truth.
Jacques was an empathetic man who was infinitely remorseful for his past actions. It's unlikely that he turned on Boss with 0 warning. I think this third person is probably the key to the full truth. On that note, however, even though this will not please you, demoiselle, as your and your father's butler, I must still offer a word of warning. Our opponent is insidious and cruel. They are extremely difficult to deal with, and Boss has already lost his life trying to bring them to justice. Even though Spina de Rosula has lost most of its former glory, Poisson has welcomed a new time of peace, and we have been allowed to live out our lives. There is no need to follow your father's path. It would be both wise and in line with Boss's wishes to step back and give up on the case.
If that's indeed what he wished for, then he should have told me that himself. Was I not the closest person to him? And yet, I was the one most kept in the dark. What was the point of him dying without sharing any of the secrets he knew? Did he manage to protect anything in the end? Synth is still here. Callus the Unfaithful is still his epithet. And Spina di Rosula is barely getting by. Nothing. Did he think I'd just accept his meaningless death and live out my life just as meaninglessly? I've never accepted that, ever. Not since that day, and certainly not now. I want to find out the real answer for everyone's sake. For the missing girls, for the victims, and for myself.
C'est quand même un super perso, Navire.
Avia.
This is indeed the best moment to act. Your partner appears to be quite reliable, and more importantly, Demoiselle, I think you're also ready to take this on.
So you do know something else, Malus.
Yes, I do. In fact, even before that banquet, Boss already knew of the connection between Synth and the serial disappearances case. But what drove all the tensions to the boiling point was the revelation that you, Demoiselle, had been selected as the next target to disappear.
What?
Boss also didn't tell you that he had been diagnosed with a rare illness. The doctors told him that he had no more than 5 years left to live. And the serial disappearances case caused him great anxiety. 5 years was nowhere near enough time to resolve this long-standing conflict. But once he passed away, all the danger would pass on to you. Knowing all of this, he decided to use one final intimidation tactic before his death. He claimed to have already gotten his hands on some key incriminating evidence for the other side, and even told some members of Spina di Rosula about the details. But as long as you remained safe, he would not share the evidence with the public. If something were to happen to you, then he and all those he told would immediately expose all they knew about Synth and the disappeared victims.
Right, so nobody would be able to get off scot-free.
As we've seen, Boss's tactic has worked. Even though Boss has been gone for a long time, the other side has not tried to take Demoiselle's life.
No, I don't believe it. He never appeared to look sick to me.
No father wants their daughter to see them weak and haggard, especially someone as proud as Boss. To him, dying in a duel and suffering lasting dishonor as the unfaithful was still far preferable than losing face in front of his daughter.
So he chose to die in silence, so that he could protect me.
I'm afraid you're not understanding this correctly, Demoiselle. If Boss's spirit could hear you telling me that you want to find the answer for the sake of everyone involved. I'm sure he'd be extremely proud.
That fool. Couldn't he have just given it to me straight? No. He might have set up everything precisely because he never thought I'd be able to understand him. Is that the amount of confidence he had in me? And what if I was never able to make it to where I am now? Yeah. I suppose that's true. With the way he'd set things up, if I had wanted, I could have just lived out my life without a care in the world. But thankfully, he rarely talked to me about complex matters, and thus understood little of me as a person. In this case, he really didn't need to give me an easy way out. Malus, what was the key evidence that he shared with you?
It's the location where Synth is produced. Essentially, it's the enemy's headquarters. When he was threatening the enemy, Boss didn't share the specifics of the incriminating evidence he found. But if you want to use it against the enemy, you'll still have to take several things into consideration.
Why? If we know where the place is, can't we just go storming in?
You mustn't forget that we're fighting against a mysterious and dangerous organization that's been in operation for decades. There's no telling what might be lying in wait at their headquarters. We also have no idea what kind of evidence we may be able to find inside, nor what people we may be able to capture. but a single visit to their headquarters would be tantamount to a formal declaration of war. The worst case would be that we leave empty-handed, but also open ourselves up to full retaliation.
Then, in that case, why not work with the Fontaine authorities?
Well, you saw one of them dissolve during Mr. Linney's case. We have no idea just how thoroughly they may have been infiltrated.
Huh. That's true. Seems my father really had no choice. But things are different now. It should be a lot easier to prove the other side's guilt, now that we've connected Synth with the disappearances case.
You sound like you've put a lot of thought into this, Maloose.
I am the butler, after all. I live but to serve the boss and Demoiselle's will. I've always been willing to take on any kind of risk for your sake. But considering my relative lack of ability, I've spent my time keeping secrets, performing basic investigations, and waiting for the right time to come.
Alors, vu qu'il disait you, je pense qu'il s'adressait à Navia, mais Navia elle est par là, faut tourner les yeux. Faut réajuster les lunettes et tourner les yeux.
Thank you for all of that, Maloose. Have you discovered anything new in the past few years?
Let me think. One conclusion I came to is that the enemy must be quite familiar with Spina di Rosula, or at least have an informant planted here. When I announced orders to the organization's members on Demoiselle's behalf, I used to deliberately keep a few people in the dark and observe the reactions of the synth vendors. If the vendors didn't change their plans, then the individuals informed of our orders must be innocent. If the vendors packed up and fled, however, then someone must have given them the news. After several rounds of testing and investigative tracing, I've narrowed the suspect list down to 3 people. The first is Florent, Spina di Rosula's senior advisor.
Il a tellement mâché le travail, c'est ouf à quel point il était à 2 doigts de tout régler tout seul en fait.
Huh? Florent?
Yes, surprising, isn't it? He was one of the people Boss trusted the most, which also means that he was someone who understood Boss really well.
Je me souviens plus c'est lequel le coupable. Je me souviens juste que Moustache, parce qu'on avait dit Moustache toujours suspect. Mais je sais plus c'est lequel.
Thanks to his position within Boss's innermost circle, he always knew our upcoming plans and could thus avoid capture this whole time. There's someone else like him too. Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrières.
Ok, je retire ce que j'ai dit, je m'en souviens.
Uncle Marcel.
It's a guild in Poisson. Boss helped it to grow to its current size and prominence. In the beginning, they were only reselling some daily goods, but now they're one of the richest guilds around, with a lot of business connections in the city.
So, they're like a sister organization of Spina di Rosula?
Yes, you can say that. When we were fighting against the synth dealers, they provided us with plenty of support. It's a bit difficult to imagine someone using their own money to hunt down themselves.
The final suspect is Thierry, the man responsible for coordinating information between Spina di Rosula and the guards. Although the guards mostly leave us to our own devices, there are still many activities we have to report to the local authorities.
J'ai envie de dire encore heureux. Parce que vous êtes quand même vachement des vigilantes, hein. Ce serait cool que vous restiez quand même dans le cadre de la loi un peu.
Since Thierry is always in the know about our current activities, he could theoretically always plan one step ahead.
I see. These are all people who I communicate with quite regularly. To think that the enemy we've been fighting against has been right next to me all along, among those I trust the most. It's almost too hard to believe.
Après, on cherche une taupe pour l'instant. On cherche pas le coupable, on cherche une taupe qui bosse pour le coupable.
If you want to investigate them, please take every precaution to not alert the quarry. Judging from our experience, the enemy is extremely cautious.
Of course. And thank you, Malus. You've provided us with a lot of great information.
You're too kind, my lady. I'm just doing my duty. And before I forget, proving Boss's innocence would also mean clearing him of blame in Jacques' death. After that incident, Jacques' wife and daughter were taken into the Spina's care. They still live in Poisson today. If it might help, you could also pay them a visit. I can make the necessary arrangements.
Oh, thank you so much, Malus. You really are the best.
A new case awaits, my dear partner. I hope we can work together to uncover the truth and end this case once and for all.
C'est vrai que Malus est le meilleur quand même. Pourquoi je l'appelle comme ça? Ouais, c'était sûr.
It is settled, then. Please excuse me, and enjoy your conversation at your leisure.
Thank you for arranging everything for us, Malus. Excuse me, miss. Do you need anything from us?
Elle est méfiante, la gamine.
Oh,
Hey, Navia's all quiet. This isn't like her at all.
I'm sorry that I only came to visit after all this time. After what happened, I didn't know how I was supposed to face the two of you.
Ah, if it's about that, there's no need to apologize. After my husband died, Spina di Rosula sent us a lot of mora and support. I understood your guilt and apology to be genuine.
But aren't all of those things nothing compared to the loss of Jacques? I can understand the kind of pain that comes with losing a father so needlessly.
You don't understand at all.
I didn't know how to face you, because I didn't know what I could possibly bring as a consolation gift. I know only the full truth could bring closure to you, and to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, elle est fâchée, la petite.
I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment, but you don't have to carry all that guilt. On the matter regarding my husband, my daughter and I have more or less found our answer already.
Would you mind sharing it with me? I really can't believe that my father could ever bring himself to shoot Jacques.
I always knew that my husband's money was earned through others' suffering. He told me countless times that if he could turn back the clock, he would never go into the synth business again. He had many regrets, and felt that he took the idea of providing for his family too literally. For the longest time, he thought Mora was everything. So when Mr. Callis came to him with a proposal, he accepted it almost immediately. He tried to be as careful as he could, but even so, he was still found out by the higher-ups.
They found out about his betrayal?
Papa didn't say that exactly, but Papa did tell me that I should never be ungrateful.
Before he left that day, he told me that he had no choice. It was only later that I realized it was his final farewell to the two of us. I don't know that for sure, but you could say that's the conclusion I eventually came to. which is why I'm the one who should feel guilty. Callus had always taken great care of us, both when he was still alive and after he passed away. Even if he fired the shot that killed my husband, it was likely in self-defense. It is impossible for me to hate him for what he had done.
But Mama, why is Papa still the bad guy if he did the right thing? Papa always wanted to be a good man, so why did he have to do a bad thing in the end?
Well, things aren't always as they seem. You still feel like your papa was a good man, right?
Yeah, Papa was a really good man. The best in the whole world.
Then you should hold on to that. If a good man had to do a bad thing, then he must have had his reasons. Regardless of whether he left you a parasol or a sword, he must have done so to give you a better life.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've told me. I will definitely find the truth. The current state of things is not something I'm willing to just sit back and accept.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to hear this from you. Even though your personality is quite different from your father's, your determination when you speak is really similar.
You really think so? That's the first time anyone said that to me.
Ok.
Are you okay, Navia?
I'm fine. Don't worry. Let's investigate the 3 suspects next. Florent should be nearby, and we should be able to find Thierry and Uncle Marcel in the city. I'll get myself together on the way, so please don't worry.
Yo. Ça me dit qu'il y a un autre plus. On va juste faire un petit tour. Par là. Oh! Ouais. Voilà. On peut retourner. Alors. Par où on peut remonter depuis ici? Par là, par là-bas.
Step on us!
Ok. Bonjour Yuko. Ah, ça m'a fait peur. Bienvenue, bienvenue. Merci pour d'avoir le follow.
Greetings, boss. How may I be of assistance today?
I'm sure you've heard about what happened at the Opera House. Someone got turned into water right in front of us.
Non, t'inquiète, c'est moi. En même temps, je l'ai mis fort pour ça. Mais du coup, bienvenue, écoute. Contente que la chaîne te plaise, je suppose que c'est pour ça que tu as follow. Tu viens découvrir l'histoire ou tu connais un peu?
Yeah, I've heard. With something that dramatic, I'm sure journalists will milk it for all it's worth. And it'll be all the talk for the next several weeks.
It also reminded me, on the day that the incident happened with my father, it was raining outside, and we found some clothes left at the scene.
Oh non, t'excuses pas, c'est normal. On a tous débuté à un moment. Ça fait qu'1 an que je joue, et on va pas mentir, ces derniers temps, autant l'histoire me passionne, autant je suis pas forcément très régulière sur le farm et ce genre de choses. Mais écoute, du coup, je ne sais pas si quand tu dis débutant, c'est que tu n'es pas allé jusqu'à la quête de Fontaine ou tu as quand même un peu rattrapé la quête principale. 3 semaines, ah oui, donc c'est très très récent. Parce que du coup, sur ces lives, moi, je me concentre essentiellement sur la quête principale. Justement, c'est un... En fait, j'ai 2 amis qui ont aussi leur chaîne Twitch, qui sont des gros joueurs et qui m'ont, à force de m'en parler, m'ont donné très envie d'y jouer. Mais du coup, pour l'instant, je me concentre sur rattraper l'histoire. Et du coup, tous les lundis, on avance un petit peu.
After my partner here put the dots together for me, I feel like we should try to reopen his case.
Je suis juste à Sumero actuellement, mais tu peux continuer ta quête, j'aurais oublié demain. Et en vrai, Sumero en 3 semaines, c'est pas mal, hein. C'est bien avancé quand même.
Can you do me a favor and try to recall what happened that night?
Let me think. Mr. Callus was feeling pretty upbeat that day. So he was drinking and bantering away with us at the table. After that, he told us that he wanted to go get some fresh air. So we let him go without thinking much of it.
Ah, t'as réussi à
Who
avoir
knew that we
Shiori,
would
c'est
hear
cool.
2 gunshots ring out right after?
Alors j'ai pas eu Shiori moi, mais mes 2 amis l'ont eu. Et apparemment c'est un très très bon perso. Surtout si tu joues pas mal Géo.
My first reaction was that Mr. Callus's life was in danger. So I grabbed my holster and made a mad dash toward the scene. But when I got there, it was already too late. Mr. Callus was standing over a dead body with a gun in his hands. All we could do was look back and forth at each other,
Oh, c'est un avec
not
l'arme,
knowing
pas
what to
mal.
say.
So you also remember 2 gunshots then?
Et du coup c'est quoi qui t'a mis au jeu toi?
Indeed. The guards said that the first shot didn't hit anyone, while the second killed Jacques. But I've never really bought that explanation. Reason being, Mr. Callus had left his gun on the table. I even made sure to confirm that before running to the scene. But according to the guards, that doesn't mean he couldn't have had other guns on his person. About the clothes left at the scene that you mentioned. Do you think there was a third person there who was turned into water?
At least from our perspective, my father had no reason to kill. So he would also have no reason to bring an extra gun with him. The gun he was holding probably belonged to Jacques, or a third person on the scene.
Moi c'est une amie qui m'a dit ici pour jouer ensemble et du coup je suis tombée amoureuse du jeu. Moi comme je dis en fait, donc mes 2 amis c'était des très gros joueurs. Parce que c'est des joueurs... Je crois qu'eux ils ont pas commencé à la 1.0 mais genre à la 1.1, un truc comme ça. Donc voilà, c'est des très gros joueurs depuis très longtemps. Techniquement, j'avais commencé à jouer à la 1.0 à l'époque, c'est juste que j'ai décroché extrêmement vite du jeu. Mais du coup voilà, à force d'en parler entre eux, à force de moi les entendre, parce que du coup c'est des gros gens qui aiment le lore, donc ils vont lire les trucs, ils vont se renseigner, ils vont faire les missions secondaires, ce genre de choses. Et du coup ils débattaient pas mal de choses et moi je les entendais parler, au bout d'un moment j'étais en mode ça a l'air quand même fourni comme histoire, comme monde et tout, ça a l'air intéressant. Du coup, au début, j'étais en mode non, mais j'ai la flemme de jouer, je vais juste leur poser des questions, leur demander. Et puis, à force, ceux qui me racontent des trucs, j'étais en mode oh, sinon, si je fais que la quête principale, ça sera toujours mieux de l'expérimenter par soi-même. Et puis, voilà, on en est là, ça fait plus d'1 an que je joue.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying Mr. Callus ended up with the gun because he seized it from one of the other guys?
Mais... ouais, Genshin, ça a vraiment un charme, genre... Je peux comprendre les gens qui sont pas sensibles, mais pour moi, c'est le genre de jeu, si t'es un peu sensible, soit à l'univers, soit au gameplay, soit à tout, c'est le genre de jeu dont tu peux très vite tomber amoureux. Parce qu'il a quand même un certain charme.
But hold on. If that's what had happened, then why didn't he share the truth with any of us? He didn't even want to face the Oratrice machine, and chose instead to prove his honor in a duel. Did he lose all faith in the courts after seeing someone dissolve right in front of his eyes?
About that, Malus told me a thing or two. So, I think I can understand why he committed to the duel. I'll tell you everything, once the whole truth has been revealed.
I understand. Then, I'll leave Mr. Callus's honor in your hands, boss. And if I may just say one more thing. The whole Callus the Unfaithful epithet has been a thorn in my side since the day it was invented. Many people have laughed at me for still calling him Mr. Callus, even after so many years have passed.
Et là, mon personnage que je veux absolument, c'est Arlecchino. J'aime énormément son charisme incroyable, sa façon d'être, son design. Tout me plaît chez elle, alors mon but c'est Arlecchino. Je peux te comprendre sur ça. J'ai une amie qui a eu Arlecchino et elle ne jure que par ce perso maintenant. Bon, elle avait aussi un très gros crush dessus, mais ça c'est autre chose. Mais ouais, c'est un très de mon perso Arlecchino. Et... En vrai, je crois qu'il y a des rumeurs sur le fait qu'elle pourrait avoir un rerun dans pas trop longtemps, donc potentiellement. Moi, le perso que je veux, c'est Child. Parce qu'en plus, le moment où j'ai commencé Genshin, enfin, parce que du coup, je m'étais recréé un compte qui t'a recommencé toutes ces années après, je voulais recommencer depuis vraiment le début. C'était pile quand sa bannière était sortie à Child. Genre quand il y avait eu sa bannière au tout début de Fontaine en même temps que Longli. J'ai mis toutes les ressources de début de jeu quand on te noie au début sous les trucs parce que tu es nouveau joueur et du coup on te donne plein de récompenses. J'ai tout mis dessus. Il est pas venu. J'ai même pas réussi à avoir Fréminé alors qu'il était 4 étoiles sur la bannière. De toute façon, les 4 étoiles, je suis maudite. À chaque fois que je veux un 4 étoiles sur une bannière, genre Cetos, celui-là, je lui en veux encore parce que j'ai dû mettre 170 vœux. Je sais plus. Je sais que j'ai eu le temps d'avoir un 5 étoiles qui a cassé mon 50-50 et que j'étais sur le point de faire tomber le 5 étoiles de la bannière. Alors que moi, je voulais juste le 4 étoiles. Il est pas venu et récemment, là, il est venu sur une multi sur la perma. Oh, j'étais énervée. J'étais en mode, c'est gentil d'être venu, mais tu te rends compte que j'ai dépensé pratiquement 170 vœux sur ta gueule, quand même. Tartalo. Oh, c'est rigolo comme surnom. Mais voilà, moi du coup, j'attends son rerun à lui. Et j'espère qu'il viendra cette fois.
But it was Mr. Callus's trust that allowed me to rise through the ranks of Spina di Rosula and live the life I lead today. No matter what others might say, he'll always be the man I respect the most. And he'll always be my boss.
Non mais c'est bon, là. Je suis en 100% parce que j'ai eu je crois que j'ai eu une Mona récemment. Et je vais pas dire que les persos de Natlan m'intéressent pas parce que c'est faux. Je vais juste dire que tous les persos de Natlan m'intéressent un peu et il y en a aucun qui m'intéresse plus que les autres. Et du coup je me suis dit, je pourrais jamais tous les avoir sans mettre de l'argent et pour l'instant je suis en full free to play, je veux pas mettre d'argent. Donc quitte à ne pas pouvoir tous les avoir vu qu'il y en a aucun qui sort spécialement du lot, je vais économiser. Après là je suis garantie pour Arlecchino. Voilà c'est ça. Si t'as pas d'autres persos où t'es en mode il te les faut absolument d'ici là, garde ton garantie. Comme ça tu vas pouvoir mettre en stock des primos et avoir les 90 vœux tranquilles. Chichi c'est très marrant, je l'ai toujours pas eu Chichi. Genre vraiment faudra que je te montre après mais en soi j'ai pas encore eu tous les persos de la perma. Parce qu'il y a Jin et Chichi, je les ai jamais eu. Et il y a Tignari que je suis allée chercher quand ils ont donné un perso gratuit. Mais que du coup j'ai jamais fait tomber naturellement on va dire.
Don't worry. I will definitely find the truth.
Maintenant il y a un perso qui arrive à la cheville de Arlecchino, enfin c'est mon coup de cœur absolu. Il y a personne qui arrive à la cheville de Arlecchino, pardon. Ressa.
You and all our other comrades at the Spina deserve to know the truth as well.
Il y a des persos sur le côté où t'es en mode ouais pas mal, si je pourrais les avoir ce serait toujours un plus, mais très souvent quand t'as un coup de cœur c'est ton focus quoi. Parce que du coup, je te montre un peu. Bon là, j'ai pris une team spéciale pour la quête, donc c'est un peu les persos de Fontaine. J'ai beaucoup de teams. C'est parce que j'aime bien jouer plein de gameplays différents, mais elles sont pas toutes montées. Mais voilà, ça c'est ma team principale en général. Parce que j'ai fini par avoir Fréminé, genre il est pas venu sur sa bannière mais il était donné dans un event donc je l'ai récupéré. J'ai réussi à avoir Furina et je suis très contente parce que c'est un très très bon perso. Et voilà, essentiellement je joue le gel. J'aime bien le gel. Les ennemis bougent pas, c'est pratique. Je sais que qui va bien avec Arlecchino, il y a Bennett. Qui est considéré comme un perso qui va bien. Je sais pas trop, il y a quoi comme autre perso qui vont bien avec Arlecchino. Mais ça doit se trouver ça. Des conseils pour build les teams. Oh, il est juste à côté du TP, parfait.
Hey, Thierry, it's me.
Fréminé trop arrogant. On est sûr qu'on parle du même Fréminé? Genre c'est le petit gars tout timide.
Oh, now, what brings you here, Miss Navia? I've heard that you made quite the name for yourself at the Opera House.
Parce que moi, Fréminé... Ah, Furina. Ouais, Furina. Je vais le lire aussi. Et coucou Dia, comment tu vas? Voilà. Donc Yukio, je te parlais d'amis qui m'ont mis à Genshin. En grande partie, c'est à Oudia qu'on doit ça. T'inquiète, y'a pas de soucis. Mais ouais, Furina, du coup... Parce que ce que j'allais expliquer, c'est que je ne découvre pas la quête actuellement. Le reste des quêtes, Mondstadt, Liyue, Inazuma et Sumeru, je les découvrais plus ou moins. Fontaine, la dernière pierre à l'édifice de me mettre au jeu a été que Oudia a streamé la quête de Fontaine, que je l'ai regardée chez elle, et que du coup je la connais, mais je l'ai trouvée très intéressante, et c'est ça qui m'a donné envie de découvrir le reste de moi-même. Et du coup, Furina, quand tu auras fait la quête de Fontaine, tu en sauras plus sur elle. Mais... Voilà, mais mon préféré, ça reste Fréminé, parce que... T'as perdu au nain jaune. Oh bah c'est dommage ça. Vous avez parié ou pas? Je sais plus, parce que le nain jaune, tu peux parier des pions, mais vous avez parié des vrais trucs. Mais oui, comme je disais, moi, Fréminé, c'est mon petit chouchou. Depuis que, du coup, elle m'avait montré le trailer de Fontaine, dès que j'avais ses répliques et tout. En fait, je me reconnais trop dans Fréminé. Genre, la timidité, l'anxiété sociale, ça, oui, c'est moi. Je suis une boule de stress dès que tu me fous face à des inconnus. Et le fait qu'il se réfugie dans l'eau, c'est un truc que moi, je fais dans la vraie vie. Genre, vraiment, c'est un truc que j'aime. Me mettre la tête sous l'eau, quand je prends un bain ou quand je suis à la piscine. J'adore aller à la piscine et juste aller me mettre la tête sous l'eau, faire de l'apnée et être en mode le silence. Le silence, l'isolement. Alors heureusement pour moi, on n'a pas parlé de véritable argent, sinon j'aurais dû au minimum 10 € à mon frère. Oui, Fréminé, c'est à Fontaine. C'est un perso assez secondaire de Fontaine. Moi, c'est surtout via les... Comme j'ai dit, les trailers où on était allé à l'exposition pour la sortie de Fontaine à Paris, où il y avait eu des présentations des premiers persos, et du coup, il y avait un gros texte sur le mur qui parlait de Fréminé et tout, et vraiment, j'ai lu le texte, j'ai fait, ouais, ça c'est moi, ça je me reconnais. Oui, je suis le petit Fréminé.
Oh, so you've caught news of that already.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm also a member of the guards, you know. The way you make it sound, people would think I was sent off to Poisson because I had done something wrong.
Are you sure there isn't a little bit of truth in that? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't you have been called back to the city already?
Ah, dans Colley, c'est vrai qu'elle est très mignonne, Colley aussi. Mais du coup, ouais, si tu me dis que tu te reconnais dans Colley, je veux bien imaginer que ça devait être un peu dans la timidité et tout aussi. Après, elle est timide, mais elle est aussi très forte, Collègue, parce que... Je sais pas, t'as dit que t'étais à Sumeru, mais t'es plus début de quête Sumeru ou t'as bien avancé quand même? Oui, faut que je me mette à jour sur le manga, je sais. Je finirai mes devoirs un jour, madame. Ah oui, t'es à la quête de nomade, donc t'as bien avancé, ouais, donc. T'aimes pas nomade? Alors, je vais pas te mentir, on se retrouve là-dessus. Je vais pas dire que je l'aimais pas, mais c'est vrai que j'étais un peu genre, il y avait l'engouement, ouais, il est trop bien, ouais, il a plein de seigneurs et tout, et moi j'étais en mode, ouais, ok, sympa. Genre, en vrai, la quête me l'a fait apprécier, mais je reste un peu derrière en mode, il est sympa, est-ce que c'est le meilleur perso? Non. Est-ce que c'est totalement une drama queen et est-ce que c'est totalement le nom que je lui ai donné quand on nous a proposé de le renommer? Non, je l'ai pas appelé drama queen, j'ai appelé Edgy Boy. Moi je l'aime pas tout court, le personnage dans toute sa conception je l'aime pas. Ouais, en vrai, son histoire est quand même un peu dramatique, genre... Je vais pas mentir qu'avant ça il est insupportable. Genre vraiment, j'étais en mode, je comprends la pile, mais moi j'aime pas les... Si j'ai envie de donner des claques à un perso, je ne considère pas que c'est un perso que j'aime. Ça peut être un bon perso très bien écrit, mais si j'ai envie de lui donner des claques, ça veut pas dire que je l'aime. Totoré. Bon perso, bon écrit, j'ai envie de l'étrangler. C'est un peu méchant dit comme ça, mais c'est le cas, c'est... Enfin, pas raté, c'est le premier prototype qui a prouvé que ça pouvait marcher, mais du coup, on n'a plus besoin du prototype.
I mean, where I work is really up to me. Let's just say I enjoy the ambiance of Poisson. Callus did a fantastic job running the town, building Spina di Rasula from the ground up and clearing many obstructions in my way. It would be next to impossible for me to find a similarly easy but high-paying job in the city.
Non, comme je dis, moi après... Voilà, après sa quête, j'aime bien le perso, mais je fais pas partie de ses fangirls, donc c'est pas moi que tu vas hériter avec ça.
Anyway, enough chit-chat. Are these two friends of yours? You, here for some formal business?
Yes. These two are my partners. What happened at the Opera House made us realize that Linny's case and my father's may be related. We're trying to reinvestigate the details of my father's old case.
Ah, I get it. You think there might be more to the case now that we know people can be dissolved into water, right? I was also flabbergasted when I first heard of it. If you want to go through the original files from your father's case, I can help you look for them.
That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Actually, I have another question. Do you have the authority to dispatch Gardamex?
Of course. Without them, I couldn't possibly handle Poisson on my own. Why do you ask? We definitely can't use them to forcefully get more evidence for your father's case.
Après, j'ai envie de dire, ça a plus tendance à l'innocenter, cet argument. Parce que les gardes-mecs qui nous ont attaqués, c'était des qu'ils avaient récupérés illégalement. Donc, s'il a des moyens légaux d'en obtenir, il n'aurait pas eu besoin de passer par là.
Well, you see, just recently, we were attacked by a horde of unnumbered Gardamex in the city.
Oui, je l'ai déjà eu. On a pratiquement commencé sur ça, Odia.
So, if you hypothetically wanted to do something against me, all you would need to do is get rid of the mecha serial numbers and send them after me.
Then you think too highly of my abilities. Dispatching mecha is very different from controlling them. If I had to make an analogy, when you order a dish, the chef will make it for you. You can ask the chef to cook, but not to massage your shoulders or carry your baggage. If you try to make unreasonable demands, the chef would just think you're out of your mind and ignore you completely. The same goes for me and my Gardamex.
Un perso intéressant que je veux à l'avenir, il y a Yelan, Ito et peut-être Kazuha. Kazuha, j'avoue, moi c'est un peu ce que t'as avec Wanderer. C'est encore une fois pas que je l'aime pas. Mais dès sa première introduction, je l'ai trouvé tellement... j'ai le mot en anglais, blend, tellement fade, tellement juste là, que bah après j'étais genre... Il me saoulait un peu d'être là en mode, non mais je sais pas pourquoi les gens t'aiment bien, t'es pas un mauvais perso, t'es juste là. Mais par contre, en termes de gameplay, c'est un très très bon perso, Kazuha. Et en vrai, peut-être qu'il faudrait que je l'aie à un moment parce que c'est un très très bon support. Yelan, je sais que c'est un bon perso aussi. Pareil, pour le coup, je l'aime bien, mais à part la quête du gouffre, je lui ai pas apporté beaucoup d'intérêt. Même si c'est vrai que c'est un bon perso. Et Ito, ça tu vas faire plaisir à Odia. Mais ouais, il est marrant, Ito, il est sympa. Après voilà, je sais pas si tu dis intéressant, enfin si tu les veux en mode il t'intéresse en termes de gameplay ou il t'intéresse parce que tu aimes les persos. En fait, Kazu a une très bonne histoire et de par son histoire, il est effacé car c'est son choix de vie. Mais du coup, bah, il subit son caractère du coup effacé. En fait, c'est que vouloir s'effacer dans les événements, dans l'ensemble des choses, c'est une chose. Mais genre, vraiment, en fait, ce qu'il a pour lui, c'est la poésie. Et moi, j'avoue, sa poésie, je la trouve chiante. Genre, le fait qu'il essaie de toujours parler via des tournures de phrases, des machins, moi, je suis en mode, hey, tu veux pas en venir au fait à un moment?
Removing a serial number is also not as easy as you might think. There are a lot of complex steps to it, and it's almost impossible to keep it a secret. So I can promise you, those mecha were definitely private units. They're certainly not cheap. So, whoever their owner is must be super rich, powerful, or both. Now that you mention it, though, being in the synth business would definitely be profitable enough to afford this.
Oh, then you're officially in the clear, Thierry.
Non, ça veut juste dire que s'il les contrôlait, c'était pas via son boulot.
Oh, well, thank you for the vote of confidence, Navia. Jokes aside, I'd like to wish you all the best with your investigation. I'll be staying in the city for a little while, so just come find me if you need any support from the guards.
Heureusement qu'elle a Mélus pour faire le boulot à sa place, Navia, parce que lui, pendant des années, il a fait gaffe à séparer les gens entre ceux qui avaient telles infos et telles infos pour réduire la liste suspecte petit à petit. Elle, il dit un truc en mode non, ça peut pas être moi. Elle est en mode ok, tu es à l'abri de tout soupçon. Ça veut dire que vous me suspectiez? Elle vient déjà de lui dire qu'on mène une enquête alors qu'en vrai, il est pas si levé de tout soupçon que ça. Ça, je le prends avec ma team amitié. Hop, 170 par là. Oui, non, mais c'est vrai. Tu sais que... Tu l'as raté du coup, Dia, mais en gros, quand ils ont refait la liste des suspects, genre, ils ont dit le premier suspect et tout, et j'ai fait ah merde, je me souviens plus qui était le coupable, bon, ça me permettra de redécouvrir. Je me souvenais juste qu'il avait une moustache, mais qu'il y en avait deux qui avaient une moustache. Il commence à lister les suspects, il y a le gars qui est responsable, il fait non, c'est bon, je m'en souviens maintenant. Genre, vraiment, j'ai vu sa gueule, j'ai fait non, non, c'est lui le coupable.
Hello, how may I help you? I'm here to see Marcel. Could you please let him know? You can just say Navia's looking for him.
Sure. I will let him know right away.
Navia, hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not as young as I used to be, so my legs are giving out a bit.
Oh, it's all right, Uncle Marcel. There's no need to stress. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about what happened in the Opera House. I'm sure you saw everything too, right?
Oh, mais il est fabuleux, le chien derrière. Ah, les chiens à Fontaine, c'est quand même tout un truc. Hein.
Yes, I've never seen anything so strange.
Oh, you were at the Opera House too?
That's right. I went there with Navia to see the magic show. Who knew it would turn into a whole murder mystery? I also witnessed your marvelous sleuthing work. Quite impressive. To beat the Hydro Archon at her own game on her own turf, I can already imagine everyone in Fontaine discussing your exploits over a few glasses of wine.
Oh, Paimon doesn't want to become the talk of drunkards.
Apologies. It's just how Fontaine is as a nation. Everyone loves drama and theatrics.
Uncle Marcel, you've also noticed that other thing, right? The fact that humans can dissolve in water?
Yes, I was reminded of your father's case right away. Is that what you're investigating now?
Exactly. I still don't have much solid proof, but I can sense that the other side has already begun to act.
Oh, and what makes you say that?
We were attacked on Araneus by some unnumbered Gardamex. And there was also an attempt to get me to drink water from the primordial sea. If not for the vigilance of my partner, I probably wouldn't even be here talking to you right now.
Notre vigilance de type on a bu le mauvais verre par erreur. Littéralement, en fait, c'est parce qu'on n'était pas assez vigilants qu'on l'a sauvé.
Oh, you're giving us too much credit. Wasn't it you who protected us?
Alas, it seems things are heating up again. The peace that Callus sought so dearly will soon become a thing of the past. But rest assured, Navia, Poisson will always remain a safe haven for you. If you're scared, you can always return there. If anyone dares to lay their hands on you there, the Confrérie of Cabrières will use its funds to the last Mora to bring them to justice.
Thank you, Uncle Marcel. But I don't intend to go into hiding. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot. Do you have any new thoughts on my father's case?
About that. Sorry, my age is catching up with me, so it'll take me a while to recall my memory. The Confrérie was responsible for that banquet, so I was out and about the whole time making sure things were running smoothly. I didn't even have the time to drink with the guests. Then I heard the sound of a gunshot, and the rest was history.
Oh, it's okay. No need to push yourself. We'll ask around some more. See if there are any valuable clues elsewhere.
Sounds good. Just let me know if you ever need Mora.
Oh, si t'as 1 ou 2 millions de Mora à lâcher, je suis pas contre. Hein. Ça servira à l'enquête, bien sûr, l'enquête.
All my wealth comes from Callus's patronage and support. I'll spend however much it takes to clear his name.
Non. Ah, on pourrait faire le tour et prendre l'escalier, mais l'escalier c'est pour les faibles. Du coup, on s'est fait interrompre
We've
pendant
talked to all 3 suspects, purely based on their conversations with me.
Je vais faire plutôt une photo de Daddy que... Non, c'est ton truc à toi, les Daddy.
None of them sounded particularly suspicious.
Après, rien n'empêche de récupérer les deux, hein.
I suppose that's to be expected, though. If
Récupère-moi
a single conversation's all that's needed to find them out, then my father wouldn't have needed to investigate the case for so
Récupère-la
many
toute
years.
seule, je ne suis pas ta fournisseuse.
Anyway, even though we didn't make a breakthrough, let's still compile what we were able to find.
But where should we start? You're right! Flora mentioned that Callus probably only ended up with the gun because of circumstance. That makes sense.
According to Jacques' family members, he already told them that he had been discovered, and that he had no choice before he left home that day. If I had to guess, he probably received an order from the synth boss to kill my father. Had he refused, he and his family's lives would have been forfeit.
So, Jacques fired the first shot?
Oh? And why is that?
Qui dit qu'il avait été sauf après... Ah, qui dit qu'il aurait été sauf après avoir tué Calas? Comment s'assurer de la sécurité de sa famille après avoir tué Calas?
Ooh, that's a good point. Jacques probably already knew that he was just being used as a tool for murder. And once he had completed his mission, he'd be of no more use to his boss.
D'autant plus qu'il l'avait déjà trahi.
So, what would make more sense from his perspective would be to turn his back on the Order and seek protection from my father. Makes sense. But without evidence, that's still just a theory. Besides Jacques, the attack from the Gardamex has been bothering me quite a bit as well. It's obvious that our enemy has become more antsy after the secret of the primordial seawater was revealed.
Do you think he knew, even then, that we'd follow this lead to the end?
Given everything that's happened since, it's quite possible.
Même sans ce qui s'est passé, étant donné toi, Navia, vu comment tu es, s'il y a la moindre piste, il n'y avait aucun doute sur le fait que tu irais la suivre.
But who among the three suspects would have the ability to control privately owned Gardamex?
Celui qui a de quoi se les payer.
Uncle Marcel?
Il y en a deux avec la moustache, ok? Faut être plus précis, vous dire. Ça ne peut pas être notre seul indice.
Maybe that's how he got to know Jacques. And with funds from the Confrérie, he could also afford a large number of Gardamex. It's still really hard for me to imagine, though. After all, Uncle Marcel has been around since I was just a child. Also, wouldn't this mean he has been spending a whole lot of mora and energy to fight his own synth business?
J'ai envie de dire, c'est la meilleure des couvertures. Surtout que vu que c'est lui qui vous donnait les fonds, il pouvait s'arranger pour que vous ayez toujours un peu en dessous de ce que lui donnait à son commerce. Ah, il valide pas. Ok.
Florent? It is true that he was closest to my father, and thus had the best chance of learning about his dealings with Jacques. But as Spina di Rosula's advisor, his work mostly deals with personnel and security, so he shouldn't have much means when it comes to finances.
Après, si on se fait l'avocat du diable, encore une fois, c'est en partant du principe qu'on connaît ses revenus. La personne qu'on cherche est dans le commerce de synth. Donc Marcel, potentiellement, c'est de là vient l'argent qu'il expose officiellement. Ou alors, si c'était quelqu'un d'autre, c'est qu'il le cache.
So you're saying he's too broke to afford a mecha army?
Et après, on s'étonne que je passe 40 ans à faire ces quêtes. Je négocie dans des cas où j'ai déjà la réponse.
Exactly. He can't. And even if he could, I don't think he would be able to dispatch a whole group so quickly. Thierry, you say? Huh. It is possible that he's figured out a way to convert the Gardamex for personal use. But I didn't feel like he was lying when he was talking to us about the mecha. I also don't think he'd be able to keep that kind of tampering under wraps.
Yeah, had he actually tampered with the mecha, we'd be able to prove it with a simple check of the guard's inventory. If the mecha were taken from the guards, it should be pretty easy to find out when and how that happened.
Who could it be?
Ah, et là, on va me laisser dire que c'est... Oui.
You know, if you think everything through, Uncle Marcel is indeed the most suspicious of them all.
Could we be missing other suspects? Malus didn't know about the people turning into water thing when he narrowed it down to these three, did he?
Oui, mais la manière dont il a fait sa liste n'a rien à voir pour le coup.
Malus has always been very reliable, and his judgment of others' trustworthiness has been fair and well considered. When the suspect is knowledgeable about the Spina's internal affairs, has the means to dispatch Mecha to assassinate us, and possesses significant intellect and foresight. Even if I don't want to believe it, I'm starting to see how things could all tie back to Uncle Marcel.
Well, we still have another trump card on top of all the theorizing and speculating.
Yes, Malus did say that charging straight in there would be extremely risky. But we don't have any other options right now.
Maintenant que j'y pense, on aurait peut-être dû y aller avant de dire aux 3 gens les plus suspects qu'on était sur l'affaire. Genre juste pour éviter que celui qui est responsable dans le tas se dise que c'est le moment d'augmenter la sécurité.
We need far more solid proof before we can hope to go charging in on our enemy.
Navia, here you are. Oh, I've been looking for you.
Huh? Aren't you the guy from the guards? Did something happen?
Yeah. News came from Irenaeus just after you left. We've got another trial on our hands.
Wasn't that place built specifically for holding trials? What's so newsworthy about this one?
I know. But they said the person they're putting on trial is a Fatui harbinger called Tartaglia.
What? Is that someone you know?
Oui.
Yeah.
C'est l'homme de
we
ma
know
vie.
him. Maybe even a little too well.
Well, he's been accused of being the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case. It's absurd, don't you think?
Wait, how? None of our investigations have had anything to do with him.
That's what I thought was strange about it, so I came to tell you the news right away. If the charge against him stands, then it'll be next to impossible to get the guards to support any of our planned investigations.
Right, because they'll think they've already found the culprit.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot harder then to clear Mr. Callus's name.
I understand. Well, partner, what do you think we should do? We still haven't found any conclusive evidence.
On n'a pas de preuve de qui est coupable, mais prouver que quelqu'un n'est pas coupable, c'est encore autre chose. Ça me paraît faisable. Genre par exemple, pourquoi vous l'accusez sorti de nulle part?
Huh? Split up? What do you mean? Just as expected of my partner.
Je voudrais aller au procès pour voir Tartaglia défendre.
Since this is a trial about the serial disappearances case, the culprit's attention will be focused on Irenaeus, leaving his home base wide open. You're right. This is our best
Heureusement qu'on a
opportunity.
Blanche-Thierry, hein, quand même.
All right then, let's do this. I'll stall them at the Opera House and charge Marcel as the true culprit.
Heureusement que t'es celui sans moustache, parce que sinon, encore une fois, on serait en train de dire nos plans devant un suspect.
I won't have any chance of making that charge stick, though, unless we find more evidence. It'll be up to you to make it back in time and hand the decisive evidence to me.
We'll help you, just like you helped us in Linny's trial.
Demoiselle, please allow us to accompany you.
I'm ready.
Ah, Malus, Silver. When did you two get here?
We heard that you'll be leaving Poisson and figured that you might require our assistance. It's our hope that your confidence will be bolstered with the two of us by your side.
Thank you so much. Then, let's make haste for Arrhenius. Paimon, Traveler,
Oui,
I'll see you
c'est
at
les
the
best
Opera
boys,
House.
pour l'instant.
See you then! Now that Navia has set out for Arrhenius, we should also get going. The location has already been marked on the map, so let's head over. Huh. According to Melusa's info, the synth production base is underwater. Let's go and try to find the entrance.
Voilà. Ah, j'adore nager. Mais écoutez ce bruit d'eau comme c'est reposant.
Finally found it! Huh. So this is the entrance that leads to the synth production base. It sure doesn't seem out of the ordinary at all. Ah, you're right. An important place like this is bound to have a ton of protective measures and mechanisms.
Hey,
Navia's probably arguing up a storm right now to stall for us.
De mémoire, ça se présente sous la forme d'un donjon, donc on va l'entamer et j'espère que ça prendra pas trop longtemps.
It would appear that I must repeat my question again, Mr. Tartaglia. Do you accept the charge that you are the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case?
To be perfectly honest, I don't understand your country's complicated court system, or the reason why I'm being charged with something I've never even heard of. However, I did hear that people who have been charged can choose to participate in a duel to clear their name. Is that right?
Je t'adore, mais là tu joues au con, hein.
In which case, as long as I accept the charge, I can have an all-out fight with that champion duelist Clorend, right?
D'ailleurs, faudrait qu'on revienne, parce que j'ai l'impression que d'un dialogue à l'autre, il change. Parce que il nous avait parlé du fait que tu pouvais faire un duel avant d'avoir ton procès. Il peut pas le faire avant? Comme ça tout le monde est content? Il va quand même avoir un procès derrière, et en plus ça nous fait gagner du temps, attention, parce que avec lui ça peut durer longtemps le combat.
I've got to admit, that's one of the most enticing offers I've ever received.
Le combat il est avant, il est après, il est pendant, il est en parallèle.
When I privately sparred with her last time, she was obviously holding back. Real disappointing.
Hey, don't you understand? You're currently the prime suspect for a major case. This isn't the place for you to be looking for fights.
Oh, tu le connais pas bien.
Oh? Sounds like the Hydro Archon wants to lecture me on the ways of the Opera House. Then why don't you duel me too? I'm the kind of student that learns best in the heat of battle.
C'est mon petit con préféré.
No. That's not what I meant.
Alas, it would appear that communication with the defendant is going poorly, and we have made very little progress. In that case, let me explain everything from the very beginning again. The goal of this trial is to determine the culprit behind the serial disappearances case.
That case had nothing to do with him. You've got the wrong man.
Huh? What's going on? Why is she interjecting again?
Eh, je croyais que vous aimiez le drama. C'est du drama, ça.
I told you it couldn't be one of the Fatui Harbingers.
Miss Navia, this is the second time you've interrupted the court proceedings. I only tolerated your behavior last time because you were able to provide the court with a key eyewitness. But that was an exception rather than standard court protocol. I can very well charge you with contempt of court for your interjections.
Oh, please. Did you ever think I had any respect for this place's pointless theatrics?
Je me souvenais plus qu'elle était aussi cash.
We can put that discussion aside for now. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to charge the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case.
Ah, génial, Nadia.
And if my charges prove true, then Tartaglia here will be proven innocent by default, correct?
Oh, a young lady has charged in and offered to clear my name. How fascinating. Well, I'd gotten half bored to death by all these rules and procedures anyway, so I'll take you up on that offer. So, Your Honor, is there nothing else for me to do now?
You may take a seat for now in the audience, but that doesn't mean the suspicions against you have been lifted.
Reviens, chouchou.
Now then, Miss Navia, who is the person you would like to charge instead?
That person is...
Marcel! Le chauffeur du camion de C'est pas sorcier.
Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrières!
Huh? What confrérie? Never heard of them in my life.
T'as une très jolie tenue, toi.
I've heard of them, but weren't they Spina di Rosula's sister organization?
Oh, is this going to be a friends to enemies type situation?
Please let me remind you, Miss Navia, that charging someone is an incredibly serious matter. Committing to the charge also means taking on the legal responsibilities associated with it.
Non, mais il a une moustache, c'est bon. Je suis désolée, mais je trouve ça tellement fun à quel point la manière dont on a choisi qui était le suspect n'a tellement aucun sens et ne se fonde tellement sur rien si on regarde 2 secondes.
And if the charge fails, depending on the circumstances, you may also be charged with the crime of making a false accusation. Knowing this, do you still wish to charge this man?
Non mais Outi, je te rappelle que ça n'avait tellement aucun sens que la première fois tu as galéré à trouver qui était ce qui tu étais censé accuser. Moi j'ai trouvé parce qu'on a déjà fait la quête.
Yes, I do.
In that case, I declare the charge to be valid. Miss Navia and attorneys, please take your places on the court. Members of the guards, please contact Mr. Marcel right away so that he may stand trial.
L'air étonné. Au produit d'euros.
Mr. Marcel, you will not require an attorney. Is that correct?
Ah, apologies. It all just happened so quickly. I still haven't figured out what's going on. I think an attorney won't be necessary. This is probably just a misunderstanding between me and Navia.
Un plutôt gros malentendu si c'est ça, parce qu'elle est quand même en train de t'accuser officiellement.
Very well. In that case, since both sides have now arrived, Miss Navia, please present your charges.
J'avais oublié qu'on avait les cinématiques du procès en parallèle, on n'aura peut-être pas le temps de lancer le donjon en fait.
I would like to take everyone back to 3 years ago, to the case of Callus the Unfaithful. Only through elucidating what really happened in that case can we connect all the dots for the serial disappearances case.
Navia, do you really think that I was the one who killed your father?
Ah non, pas que tu sois celui qui a tué son père. Tu es celui qui a commandité le meurtre du père.
Come on, why would I do that? Callus was my benefactor, and remember both you and I only ran to the scene when we heard the sound of a gun. If that's enough to make me a suspect, wouldn't that make everyone at that banquet a suspect as well?
I think there's no point in getting into the specifics right now. The audience doesn't even have the big picture yet. Even I'm struggling to remember some details of that case.
Exactly correct, Your Honor. I must refresh everyone's memory about that case before I can explain my charge and reasoning.
I see. In which case, I will recount the findings about that case as originally recorded by Maison Gardiennage. On the day of the murder, Spina di Rosula hosted a large banquet in a countryside estate owned by the Confrérie of Cabrières.
Ils ont tellement une gueule de... C'est... Genre les voyous dans les vieux mangas, genre Lupin the Third et tout.
During the banquet, all attending guests heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard. When the guests arrived at the scene, they found the primary suspect, Callus, holding a gun, while his acquaintance, Jacques, lay dead from a gunshot wound. The guards' investigation did not recover any other firearms from the scene. As a result, they concluded that the suspect's first shot must have missed, while the second must have taken Jacques' life. The suspect did not dispute this conclusion, and also declined to defend himself in court. Instead, he chose to prove his innocence through a duel. Callus was defeated by champion duelist Clarand in the ensuing duel, and soon succumbed to the injuries. These are the known facts about the case.
Bah, techniquement, tout est vrai. À aucun moment dans son résumé, il a dit que... Comment il s'appelait déjà le père? Il a dit que le père avait tué Callus. Il a dit que le père a avoué. Ce qui est vrai. Mais on va quand même réfuter ces trucs qui sont tous vrais.
The one with the motive to kill was Jacques, not my father. And even so, Jacques still had no reason to pull the trigger. In truth, the third person shot Jacques first, and was shot in turn by my father when my father seized the gun from him. After that, the true culprit turned the third person into water, erasing all traces of him from the scene. Thank you for the summary, Your Honor. Of course, the guard's conclusion appeared quite sensible to us at the time. However, we should revisit the case now that we've gained new information about the abilities of water from the primordial sea.
Ok, alors... Concentre-toi, Ozia, c'est pas le moment. Alors, juste, c'est quoi les trucs? Florent le comte des nains. Alors, Callus n'avait pas d'arme lorsqu'il est sorti. Combien on n'a pas d'autre que Marseille. Vêtements d'une personne inconnue. Alors. Est-ce que je mets... Callus n'a pas apporté d'arme avec lui. Bon, après une nouvelle enquête, il est maintenant certain que Callus, du plus, c'était de... Alors, est-ce que ça serait pas là que je mettrais le fait qu'il y avait des vêtements? Ok, c'est bon.
This assassin first shot Jacques, then turned to shoot Callus, only for Callus to wrestle the gun from him and kill him instead.
Je suis concentrée, Babel. Concentrée sur Silver. Ok. Donc ça, c'est bon, je l'ai mis. 2 coups de feu. Quel est-ce qu'il y avait un mobile? Alors, attends. Est-ce que je mets ça par rapport à l'histoire du mobile? Ou est-ce que je mets ça par rapport au fait qu'il n'avait pas pris son pistolet? Parce que ça disait déjà, avant que je le change, on sait qu'il avait volé le pistolet de Jacques. Donc vu que ça a l'air de se commenter sur le mobile, est-ce que je mets ça? Ouais.
The testimony of the victim's family confirms that Jacques had thoughts of assassinating Callus when he set out for the banquet. However, in the end, he reconsidered, and instead shared everything with Callus, hoping to seek the latter's protection. Unfortunately for Jacques, the true culprit had already considered this possibility, and had sent out another assassin.
Ouais, est-ce que j'ai besoin de réfuter plus? Le premier tir du suspect avait raté le second. Et que le second était fatal. Ok, là il n'y a pas de test. Bah, je dirais ça parce que du coup, si le premier a touché, c'est juste que la personne s'est dissoute. Ok, c'est bon.
A pile of clothing was found at the scene. The guards once believed they were used by Jacques as a costume to disguise himself. But now, it is clear that the clothes were proof that there was a third person at the scene, and that they were turned into water after committing the murder. Since it was raining that day, the culprit was confident that they could use the rain to wash away all traces of their dissolved accomplice.
C'est bon.
Realizing this, the true culprit caused the hired assassin to dissolve into water, leading everyone to believe Callus was responsible for Jacques' murder. This
is the true version of events.
Ah, so that's what happened. Wait, you're telling me something as dangerous as water from the primordial sea has been used for all these years?
Vous avez pas écouté à la fin du procès de Linné, hein?
What a great theory. It also explains Callus's and Jacques' respective motives. I guess they didn't shoot each other after all.
Mr. Marcel, you are the one being charged with the crime. You should provide a rebuttal if you wish to prove your innocence.
Ah, pour l'instant, sa défense est toute trouvée. Je ne réfute pas la théorie, je réfute pourquoi c'est moi que vous accusez.
Ah, but I think I agree with everything Navia just said. In fact, there was nothing in her speech that directly implicated me.
Then, may I ask some questions? In my opinion, we primarily need to determine two things. One, do you have the evidence to back up your claims?
I'm afraid not. At least not at this very moment.
Dis pas où on est alors que t'es censé faire diversion. Dis pas où on est alors que t'es censé faire diversion.
Boo! If you don't have any evidence, you should just go home!
I may not have the evidence with me, but I know where I could go to collect it. If we look up the deserted clothes against a record of people who went missing around the same time, we should be able to find a match. Considering the serial disappearances case, the guards probably kept careful records of all missing persons from around that time, regardless of age or gender.
Ok, franchement, j'y aurais pas pensé et c'est super legit comme manière de prouver qu'il y a un truc.
That makes sense to me. Monsieur Neuvillette, I would consider this to be a reasonable investigative direction.
Et en plus, le temps qu'ils fassent ça, on gagne du temps.
Why do I feel like Farina's acting a little differently today?
Bah, elle fait moins chaud, mais elle aussi, elle a de bonnes raisons de faire en sorte que la vérité éclate.
Maybe she's scared of embarrassing herself again?
Aussi.
Alternatively, she's become more diligent after charging an innocent citizen in the last trial.
My second question has to do with the ensuing duel. If the truth is indeed as you described, then why didn't Mr. Callus explain himself in court? If he had testified that a person had been dissolved, he could have at least mounted a defense.
I've thought about this too, and the answer is actually pretty simple. He felt there were things that were more important to him. The dissolving power of water from the primordial sea is an important secret for the true culprit of the serial disappearances case. My father could have exposed it for all to see, but he chose to take it to the grave. At that time, Spina di Rosula was in dire straits, and his reputation had already been shattered. He had no guarantee that going forward with the truth would allow the culprit to be brought to justice. What was certain, however, was that it would paint a gigantic target on my back.
Boss once told me that Demoiselle had already been selected as the next target of the serial disappearances case.
What?
If the secret had gotten out, the culprit would have fought an all-out war with Espina right there and then. I wouldn't have been the only one in danger. All of us would have stood to lose our lives. Of course, the guards might eventually figure out the truth of the matter and determine that we were in the right. But what good would that do? How can a hollow verdict protect anyone? Had this opera house ever given my father any kind of confidence in its brand of justice, Spina di Rosula would have had no reason to exist.
On rajoute un peu de sel pour finir l'assaisonnement.
But by staying silent, we retain the ability to deter our opponents and continue the stalemate. I was able to become Spina di Rosula's president, which made me harder to target, as well as giving me more time to grow and learn.
And once I have figured out the truth and stepped up to the challenge, I will do what this opera house cannot and restore my father's truth and honor back to him.
So, you mean to say, your father intended to die in the duelist's ring?
That's right.
Do you have any proof?
Of course. All you need is to ask his opponent, Clorand.
J'ai envie de dire, vu qu'apparemment c'était un fait public, le fait qu'il ait demandé à continuer de se battre alors qu'il avait été déclaré perdant parce que plus capable de se battre et qu'il était en mode non, je vais continuer, était quand même un plutôt bon signe qu'il était plutôt en train de chercher la mort.
I don't need your apology, your guilt, or your support from the shadows. You don't have to do anything for my sake. But since he entrusted his will to you, Clorand, you should tell us the truth about his sacrifice.
So, during the duel, did you believe that Callus was intending to die?
Yes, I did. As a champion duelist, I've fought many battles and taken a countless number of dishonored lives. In my line of work, I've seen all kinds of people give their all for the faintest hope to continue living. Some were determined, others passionate, and some even manic and twisted. Just one look and I can tell if a duelist is hoping to live or if they're looking to die. I hereby swear on my name and honor as a champion duelist that Mr. Callus never intended to leave the ring alive.
Since that's your testimony, I have no more questions. It appears there really are good grounds to reopen this case.
I concur. However, Miss Navia, you still have not explained the link between your father's case and the serial disappearances case.
Elle a surtout toujours pas expliqué pourquoi c'est Marcel qu'on accuse, hein.
Right? What she said was fascinating, but kind of beside the point.
Wait, weren't they just talking about the serial disappearances case?
Of course, Your Honor. The two cases are connected via a matter of timing. In my father's case, the culprit intended to kill both Jacques and Callus. As a result, they planned to act after hearing 2 gunshots. And, at the end of Linny's trial, the culprit also only dissolved the victim in front of everyone because they realized they were at risk of being identified. The culprit could only time their actions so precisely if they were already at the scene. Coincidentally, Marcel attended both the banquet and the trial.
So that's why you suspected me. Even after hearing your reasoning, I still can't help but find it a little preposterous. I'm used to it, though. You've always been an impulsive and sentimental child, Navia. It's one of your most endearing traits.
Alors de 1, ta gueule. Et de 2, encore une fois, des accusations ne marchent que si on part du principe qu'il l'a fait lui-même. As-tu déjà entendu parler du concept d'homme de main, Navia? Tu sais, genre les 2 personnes qui se tiennent derrière toi sont pour toi.
No need to appeal to pathos.
I won't try to refute your points one by one, but even if everything you just said was true, can you prove that I was the only person present at both events? On top of that, does a person have to be physically present to control the timing? Can't someone remotely monitor the place?
Oui, c'est de ça que je parle, Ludia. C'est totalement de ça.
Know what she can say to that.
I know that even with that, you might still think you can reduce the list of suspects with some further investigations, until I'm the only one left on the list. Alas, who won't feel at least a little hurt by an accusation of murder from a girl you see as your own daughter? But if I were to dismiss this completely, you'd also think I'm not being considerate of your feelings. Ah well, let Uncle Marcel teach you another lesson. Do you know what the biggest flaw in your reasoning is?
I suppose you're gonna tell me anyways.
It's timing again. I'm a businessman by trade. From that standpoint, there's no reason for me to kidnap young women. It's a high-risk action with nothing to gain. In addition, I left my home in Snezhnaya when I was young to come to Poisson and work in some trade. My business only thrived when I received Callus's patronage. But the disappearances began before I ever stepped foot in Fontaine.
C'est vrai, ça?
I do apologize, demoiselle. This was my mistake.
No, it's not your fault. I'm sure he had come prepared.
Après, on sait qu'il a effacé Vacher de tous les records et tout, donc peut-être que l'identité de Marcel n'est arrivée qu'après.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Would you like to check the date of my first business license against the first known case of the serial disappearances? You can also take a look at my border entry records, or ask my friends and family when I left Snezhnaya for the first time. Could those records and testimonies do something to appease the unspeakable anguish in your heart?
Écoute, de toute façon, on est là pour gagner du temps, donc allez, vas-y.
Seems like she got the wrong guy. At this rate, Navia will be convicted for falsely accusing him.
Ah oui, ça c'est moins cool.
I think you've done a superb job of dissecting your father's feelings as he neared the end of his life. But aren't you going against all of his wishes and expectations right now? He wished for you to become more rational, collected, and conscientious, instead of dwelling only on your own feelings. Once you've learned to be more considerate of others' feelings, and to stop rushing headlong into things, you'd have met most of his expectations.
This isn't just about me, and it never has been. The biggest difference between me and the rest of the victims is that I still have the ability to search for the truth, while that same agency has long been taken from them. The people whose families were destroyed by synth abuse, the people who lost their loved ones to the serial disappearances, and the people who suffered tragic ends due to their sense of justice. Many people's images are flashing before my eyes. I'm sure some are coming to those of you in the audience as well. And whose image do you see, Marcel?
J'aime bien qu'elle reproche le côté dramatique de la cour de Fontaine alors qu'elle plonge dedans dès que c'est nécessaire.
Is it a man named Vacher? Oh, so you do know that name.
I'm merely surprised you'd suddenly say the name of someone I've never even heard of.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Alors, il reste 10 minutes. On va pas se mentir, je pense qu'on va pas avoir le temps de faire grand chose en 10 minutes. Ouais. Le truc c'est que je sais pas si jamais je sors, est-ce que ça va pas me remettre au tout début du procès cette histoire? Genre est-ce que si je sors du truc maintenant il me remettra ici ou je devrais me retaper la cinématique? Enfin pas la cinématique, la séquence de dialogue. Bon après j'avais envie de me battre, donc on va au moins faire un petit combat. Parce que j'en ai pas eu aujourd'hui et ça m'énerve.
Decided by destiny.
Je Le problème là, c'est que même si je déborde un peu pour faire le donjon, ça va enchaîner sur une cinématique, donc ça va pas me faire déborder qu'un peu.
The floor is going up! Is it because of this mechanism in the middle? That guy really prepared a lot of stuff for this place.
Oh, encore. Attends, en vrai, déjà si je fais ça, il va me dire quoi? On va tester au pire. C'est chiant, mais je pourrais genre refaire la cinématique juste avant le prochain live. Non, c'est bon, il me laisse recommencer juste là. Bon, bah c'est nickel. Donc on pourra reprendre de là la prochaine fois. Bah du coup, ouais, je vais m'arrêter là. Comme ça, on pourra finir. Je pense que... Je sais plus précisément, mais je pense que ça va être comme l'acte 1 qui s'est terminé juste après le procès de Linné. Là, on finit ce procès et ça terminera l'acte 2. Ça sera nickel. En vrai, on aura avancé assez vite si c'est effectivement le cas, parce que je pense qu'il y a moyen qu'on finisse ça la prochaine fois si j'arrive à être efficace. Mais du coup, toi, tu me prends la caméra. C'est moi le sujet là. Mais du coup, bah on va s'arrêter là. En vrai, on a bien avancé là. Je trouve que ça arrive à bien rouler sur la quête de Fontaine. Au niveau planning de live, Rara fait toujours son live demain, si je ne me trompe pas, où il continue Silent Hill 2. Oudia ne live pas, du coup, ni mercredi. Alors, ne live pas mercredi. Jeudi, normalement c'était moi, mais du coup, finalement, on a décalé. C'est pour ça que j'allais pas dire ni vendredi, parce que vendredi, finalement, on va faire notre petite soirée d'Halloween, du coup, avec un petit jour de décalage. Moi, ça me permettra d'aller à la soirée de la plume, comme ça, ce sera nickel. Mais du coup, voilà. Et dimanche, sur Rara, normalement, je crois que c'est ça. Il y a juste toi qui live pas et nous qui avons décalé au vendredi. Mais du coup, voilà. Donc, le prochain live, c'est demain chez Rara pour du Silent Hill 2. Et moi, du coup, je vais vous dire bye bye.